So we're up on the west side of Highdown Hill, which is just north of Worthing, just north of the sea. And then across there you can see the sea, and then way over there in the distance to the right of that sticky up building there's the Isle of Wight, and then it, you know, obviously it moves right round to the Downs, so you've got an amazing view up here. And I think that's the thing that I fell in love with when I first came up here. To have a vegetable plot and a community garden up here just seems such a wonderful opportunity. When we inherited this place, we had a pretty blank canvas. The land itself, which I'll show you in a minute, is there was not a lot there. There were the 4 apple trees and some raspberry canes, and apart from that we had a blank canvas to do whatever we wanted to do. The fantastic thing that we did inherit with it were 4 water butts this side and 4 water butts that side of the garage, and we want to be self-sufficient with as much as with everything that we possibly can be, but water is absolutely vital to growing, of course, and we didn't want to use Margaret and Ranjit's water. You know, we compost everything that we possibly can. In fact, there's a load of poppies in there I need to take out. But Alan and Miles and David together created this compost heap out of pallets, and the reason why it's so wide is so that when the grass is cut by the tractor mower, it can back into here and empty the grass in here to help with the composting. Everything that we produce, Margaret and Ranjit can use. That's the arrangement, that we don't pay them for the land, but we have an arrangement where all the vegetables and fruit that we produce, they can just come and take whatever they want in exchange for us using the land. And Margaret has an arrangement with the local farmer, because he uses some of her fields from time to time for his cattle, that any manure that we need or she needs, the farmer just brings a trailer load just from over the hill there and dumps it just there. I'll show you, sorry. Dumps it just here. So this is our lovely manure supply. And then also Margaret keeps goats, so there's a whole load of goats over there, and chickens. So there's a lot of manure, and then obviously the rotting straw from the goat bedding. So we've always got a really super supply of manure. We, as you can see, had bees who decided to swarm into our shed last year, which wasn't the most appropriate place for bees to decide to spend the winter, and unfortunately they all died. But we try and do what we can here to support the bee population. Just on the other patch of land. The bees actually belong to a beekeeper in Ferring, which is a village nearby, and yeah, there's a little tiny pond down there where they live, but we wanted to create a bigger pond for them, and a garden that was very bee friendly and friendly to beneficial insects. And then we, in this thing here, we've got chopped up comfrey and chopped up stinging nettles and water. We make our own fertiliser out of that, which is quite potent and very smelly stuff, so I won't expose it to the air. Raspberry canes and apple trees. John Coote, who's also doing a permaculture diploma, comes and he does a sow and grow programme for TTW, and he comes and helps us prune our trees every year, and does a kind of pruning teaching workshop. And then we've got this living willow bower, and we just thought it would be a nice idea to train runner beans and peas up the side of it. And then here we have Winston the goat. He's a bit of a beast, aren't you? And he's a bit of a greedy thing, and he shoos all the other goats off. But when we've got any pernicious weeds, in other words weeds that you don't want to compost, you don't want to put into your plot, we give them to you, don't we? This living willow bower, I kind of explained to the guy who helped us to build it what I was looking for, and then we did a workshop with a couple called Mark and Becky, where I think we had about 23 people up here, which was amazing. And they all came, and with all sorts of bits of equipment. Some of the guys made this bench out of old scaffolding planks. There were a whole load of these brick pavias that were lying around the side of the garage, so Martin Jarvis created a pathway out of that. And then the willow, we live in France as well as here, so we brought some willow and hazel back with us, and Mark and Becky brought some as well. And then we had this gorgeous day where we created this lovely willow sculpture, which we hope eventually will make a nice shady place to sit. Alan dug the pond, and we got lots of materials from the pond from all sorts of people. The Willow workshop paid for the pond liner, as well as paying the people who did the Willow workshop with us. Loads of people gave us pond plants, they gave us comfrey, all sorts of different wildflowers which are all dying off now, came from other people. Ranjit and Margaret gave us the logs. Some of the stones came off an allotment that was going into disuse that belonged to a friend of ours. The only problem with the pond this year is it's been so hot and so dry, and because we ran out of water in the butts, the pond level is quite down. It's a very deep pond, and we created a really, really deep pond so that it wouldn't dry out completely, so that the water, well down, at least there would be some water there. And it's just a wildlife pond, it hasn't got any fish in it. And we use water from the water butts to fill the pond with. And just underneath those rocks there is a hose. You can see it actually coming out the top of that bottom water butt there, with all the bits of willow in it. But that comes across, and when the water butts are all full, that feeds the pond, so it automatically gets fed when we've got enough water to feed it. So it's a kind of self-maintaining system. This is the bug house that we built with the kids last year, and that's a kind of hibernatory place for beneficial insects, toads, frogs, whatever wants to go in there over winter, really. It's a little wintering house for creatures. We did inherit the rhubarb, and we did inherit the compost bins and the gooseberry bush. And then this was the first bed that we ever did, with John Koo and Lucy Martin and some amazing people who came up and helped us do this. We had a big crew up here that day helping, and we've used anything that was just lying around over there behind the garage to create an edging for the bed. It's now used by a lady called Jill Hunter, who's a community artist, who came up and did a workshop one day of us doing clay green men, and then she took them away and got a load of people at Aldingbourne Country Centre, which is a centre for, I think, people with learning difficulties, and they painted them for us. So again, it's trying to involve the community with the work that we do, and that, we're all kind of working together, really. So this is Jill's bed. That did have a tree in it, that bed, but it died. Don't quite know why, so that's waiting for another tree to go in there. Mm-hmm. And the bees, as you can see, this lavender is just always covered in bees, as are the pond plants and this beautiful thing here. Oh look at that big fat bumblebee. What we try and do up here as much as we can is put in plants that are bee friendly as well as our vegetables, but even this onion that's gone to seed here is providing something for the bees and the insects to enjoy. This along here that Leanne's weeding at the moment, very kindly, is what we call an edible hedgerow. Hi! It's Anne and Chloe. Is an edible hedgerow, and so everything in this bed can be eaten. It can be eaten by human beings, but it can also be eaten by creatures. So, and one of the principles of the ethics of permaculture is fair shares. So we try and make sure that we also provide a little bit for other creatures, as well as ourselves. I've never dug this bed. It's 2 years old and it's never been dug. And you can just literally do that with the soil. It's not compacted in any way, and you don't have to dig it. And when you dig and you turn the soil over, you automatically release to the surface all the beneficial bacteria in the soil, which is not great. So you want them in the soil, right deep down, you know, helping all the plants to grow well. We made this keyhole bed and the double dig bed over there with a lady called Lucy Martin. And this lassie called Kerry Ann came up to help us on one particular day and met Lucy. And they got to know each other much better. Lucy went to Kerry Ann's dad's and helped him create a keyhole bed. And as a result of that, Kerry Ann then went to Malawi and taught children in an orphanage in Malawi how to raise keyhole beds. Spent some time in Africa. Lucy went travelling, and then they both came back. They both ended up living in Forest Row, purely by accident, didn't know each other, were there, and have now started up a gardening business together in Forest Row as a result of meeting here.
So we pegged it out, we put the cardboard down, and then came up, hang on honey, and then spent some time making all the edging and everything, which we got creative with, and planted everything. I think we sowed a load of seed in the March.
Yeah.
Left it. It rained a lot. It rained a lot, and it did get left. And then the next time I came up, I was like, "Oh my goodness me, that's amazing." So it just did it all by itself. It felt like.
Yeah.
And I had the best crop of onions ever, and they lasted for ages under my stairs.
Fabulous.
I like the idea of the permaculture in terms of gardening. I suppose that's where it started, but in the sense of permaculture as a lifestyle,
Yeah.
is quite important as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and I think, you know, I'm trying to foster things at home that sort of mirror. I have my own little mini keyhole bed at home.
I think Chloe's had a bit more growing experience than I've had, and I'm just kind of like, well, we're both still experimenting with what we can grow and stuff. So for us, it's been an amazing journey throughout the whole year with planting different things. Some didn't work, some worked really well. And this month we've had an amazing month with, like, you know, we've harvested onions, courgettes, broad beans. We've got we've made some chamomile tea already with chamomile from the plot. Yeah.
Excellent.
Radishes, obviously chard. So we've had, you know, an amazing crop already.
And I think that's what I find. I just really, apart from potatoes, and now I've got a whole load of those, I hardly ever buy vegetables. I have brought carrots, but that's it. And we feed ourselves off of the stuff that we produce, which is, you know,
it's amazing how creative you become as well when you have lots of courgettes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just find the most obscure recipes to make it a bit more interesting, and yeah, you just go with what you have, and it's a really nice change of lifestyle, I think, having a plot. But I think the thing that I've learnt the most about having this particular plot is that it was a no-dig.
Yeah.
And I've never known that before, I've never experienced it. And the amount that just shoots out from the ground here is just, you know, enough to show how well it works.
Yeah. And how's the weeding? Is it easy?
It's so easy.
Yeah, it's getting, like, initially I think that there was a lot to be done, but I think after the initial bit, it's literally like it's been absolutely fine.
Yeah. We've had a huge amount of support from an awful lot of people with this project. Currently there's a lovely guy called Miles who lives in Ferring, and he produces biochar, which helps composting enormously. So he's been coming up to the plot and kind of more or less keeping our compost heaps going for us and giving us free biochar and digging it all in and doing all that tedious work. So really grateful to him and all the other amazing, wonderful people who've come up and helped us with this project.